Have you ever felt like God was calling you to something more? Maybe you've sensed a nudge, a stirring that you can't quite put into words. That's what this podcast is all about. Here we share the story of God doing something new and powerful right here in Morehead, Kentucky. I'm Eli, and I'm excited to share this journey with you. In just a few minutes, you'll also hear from my friend Dylan Bjorklund, a minister, husband, father, and now church planter. He's stepping out in faith to follow God's call, and I think his story is going to inspire you. Before we jump in, I want to encourage you with these powerful words from Ephesians 3:20-21. Now to him who is able to do far more abundantly than all that we ask or think, according to the power at work within us, to him be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations forever and ever. As you listen today, I want you to ask yourself, what might God want to do through you? You can do more than you imagine by his power for his glory. And maybe, just maybe, this episode will help you take that next step of obedience. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Good morning.
What's going on, Eli?
We are calling this the Morecast, and we'll talk a little bit about why that is the title of it. But first, we have an opportunity to hopefully connect new people to you, Dylan, specifically because you are launching a church plant this year. Let's introduce ourselves.
Yeah, great. My name is Dylan Bjorklund. I am 30 years old and from Kentucky, still live in Kentucky. And I'm married. My wife, Cassie. We have one little girl, Eliza, and another one on the way. And Eli, she's a week away from being here.
Mm-hmm.
So next week, she'll be arriving. So we're excited about that. That's been an awesome journey being a parent. But yeah, I've been a follower of Jesus almost my whole life, basically. I grew up going to church, part of the church, and accepted Christ and was baptized when I was in 5th grade. And ever since then, I've just had a heart for ministry, for serving in the kingdom. And so after high school, went off to Bible college, where we met at CCU, rest in peace, and Cincinnati Christian, for those who don't know, Cincinnati Christian University. But after that, actually during my time, did ministry at a church, children's ministry, and then moved into the senior minister role at a church in central Kentucky, right outside Lexington. And then, taking on this new adventure of church planting. So, quick, just a little bit about me.
I am Eli Blackford. As you mentioned, we didn't meet at CCU.
That is true. That's true.
But we weren't friends before that because we didn't know each other. We were in this thing called Bible Bowl, which is like if you grew up in the church and were a super hardcore church kid, you maybe...
Only the serious,
yeah.
The committed.
Maybe heard about that, but there was a tournament that would happen once a year at Round Lake Christian Church, or Christian Camp, which is close to where I am, by the way, which is close to Akron, Ohio. But Dylan and this team from Kentucky, once a year, you guys would come up and we would compete against each other. We didn't really know each other, but knew each other enough that then when we got to CCU, we were familiar faces to each other. We were in the same orientation group, and I was thinking about this the other day, alphabetically, because that's how they organize the orientation groups, alphabetical last name. I don't think there's almost any possibility that you could have fit anybody else in the world between our last names. That was destined to be, I guess. So anyways, yeah, we spent 3 years together, CCU. One of those years we were roommates. I'll say this, I knew very early on that you were especially called to ministry, because I think it was like September of that first year, early in that first semester, you were preaching a revival back in your home county, Fleming County, and you had invited me to come, and you were 18 years old probably, something like that. and you were so driven and passionate. You were door knocking, inviting everybody that you could to get there, and then you were preaching. It was something about, there was a song that you had heard on the radio, something about crowns. All the winners get a crown. I don't remember what song that was, but you had themed your Friday night, Saturday, Sunday morning revival sermons on this idea of all the winners getting a crown, and it was powerful. I'd never heard an 18-year-old preach the way that you were preaching, so I knew there was something special there, a calling on your life that was unique. And as little as I've been able to witness since we left CCU, I would say that calling is still on your life. And that is what leads you now to a church plant.
Yeah. That's very kind of you, Eli. That's awesome. I totally forgot about that. I forgot about you coming down to that, doing that whole thing. Yeah, I remember.
Here's what else I remember from that weekend. The Sunday morning sermon, I think. And I would usually sit in the back somewhere in one of the pews in this little country church. And you had asked me to play, there was a song, Beautiful Things, that was like the song that everyone was playing at that time. You'd asked me to play that during the invitation on the piano during your last sermon. And there was a lady that was sitting way up in the front to the left. I don't remember if she was leading worship or why she was sitting up there, but she was always up there. She was super enthusiastic. And so as your sermon was wrapping up, I remember walking up the aisle during a revival, and I sat in the front row right behind her, or right in front of her, I think. She was in the second row. And she thought I was coming up to give my life to the Lord, because she laid her hands on me and she started just laughing and praying. And I just sat there just letting her do it. And then I got up and started playing a song. So I don't know. I don't know what she thought about that. I don't know if she felt embarrassed or what, but I'll always remember that awkward moment.
Yeah.
There you go.
I could imagine that would have been awkward for you, man.
Yeah. It was the first, no, not even the first, one of many in my life. Anyways, I kind of got off track a little bit. So Dylan, you're in Kentucky. I'm up close to Akron, Ohio. I'm a youth minister at a church here. And in November, this is January of 2025, November 2024, we reconnected at the International Conference on Missions, which was down where you were. It'd been a few years since we had talked to each other. I think the last time we saw each other was at your wedding.
Yeah.
Probably.
Probably in person. Yeah.
Which was, what year was that?
2017.
2017. Okay, so it'd been probably 7 years.
Yes. Yep.
I was invited to be part of your wedding party, and then a few years later, I didn't invite you to my wedding.
Well, it's in 2020, man. Your wedding was in 20, so you couldn't invite anybody, really.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, my wife and I had a COVID wedding, so.
Yeah.
But it was, I feel a kind of way about that.
Well, we watched it online.
That's true.
We streamed it. So.
You did, and you sent us a gift, which was very nice. But I just wish we weren't married in 2020, because that would have been it would have been nice to have you there. But anyway, so we reconnected at the International Conference on Missions. I asked you how stuff was going at the church, because you had been a senior minister for a couple years at that point. You said, "It's great, we're leaving." And that's when kind of found out you are on this church planting journey. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I did children's ministry for 7 years, and it was incredible. I loved my time there. And Eli came to that was church in Northern Kentucky, Plum Creek. He came and helped some Sundays there, all that kind of stuff. And it was incredible ministry. It was an incredible learning experience. But everyone knew, I knew, and everyone, even in the church, knew, like, children's ministry was not my long-term thing. It's not what I wanted to do, although I loved it. And it was hard to leave in a lot of ways, and things were just really exciting there. But it was such a great experience for me to just learn a ton about ministry. And the church there was just so gracious to us. It was incredible. But in 2020, when everything shut down, the world came crashing in, or it felt like, we began just reevaluating like where we are. My wife and I have been married for a few years. We'd been renting. We're like, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to settle here at Plum Creek, and then we need to look at somewhere to start buying, or is it time for us to go and do a kind of that senior minister role, preaching full time kind of thing? And so that's when we started looking just at opportunities, and we landed here in Winchester, right outside Lexington, Central Kentucky, and it has been this has been another incredible church, another incredible learning experience. People here have been so gracious to us. And the transition out of Plum Creek and into here was just incredible. I couldn't ask for a better situation. It was so good. And these 4 years that I had been at Christview, these last 4 years since the beginning of 21, has just helped me grow in my love for the church even more, although I have always loved it. Love for people. But one of the things that was a huge learning thing, or a huge thing that I realized that I loved about this job, that was a challenge in children's ministry. Children's ministry, it's high administration. And so you're constantly in the office doing a lot of work and things like that. And so one of the things I was looking forward to in this role that I was in preaching, moving to Winchester, was to be able to actually feel like I'm actually working with people. And I really got to do a lot of that. And the leadership here, the elders here at Christview, were so good, and they took care of so many administrative things that in so many ways my role here was preaching and getting to know people and networking, connecting, and so it was just a great opportunity. But during that time, my time here, just growing in that, I also began to really grow in my passion. I've always had a passion for lost people, always had a passion for reaching people far from God, or who are near to God, just haven't taken that step yet. They're searching, pursuing Him, and that really grew here more as I began to get to spend more time with people. And so I was looking for opportunities in our community, and would spend several days a week out of the office and trying or just working in the community and meet with people, connecting, not just people who are Christians, but those who weren't. And so that was stirring in my heart, all of that. And, planning a church, I don't know that I would have ever thought growing up when I wanted to go into ministry. I don't know that I ever would have thought, hey, I'm going to go start a church. Ministry, what I thought ministry was when I first went into Bible college, what I thought it was when I was in Bible college, when I left Bible college, like it's just changed so much. But one of the things I began to realize just through reading, studying the Word, listen to other people, was planning churches is actually an extremely effective way to reach a community. In fact, just last week, Eli, I got to go down to a church down in Southern Kentucky, and they're potentially going to support our work here. But I got to teach their Adult Wednesday Bible class, and I taught on the biblical vision for church planting. And I started digging through some stuff and came across this article from Timothy Keller, and forgot that about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, maybe 2 years, I'd actually come across this article and read it. And as I was reading it, I was like, this was some of the seeds early on. So this article, I want to say I probably read it in the summer of 2022, maybe 23, maybe, and began to read. These were some of the seeds that were already being planted on my heart, to just see that church planting was a very effective way to reach a community, to make a difference, and to advance the gospel. So I think through just all of that, time in the church, and growing in my love for the church and for people, and for the lost, and wanting to see as many people come to know Christ and follow Him with their whole lives, and studying the Word and listening to other people, that's how that idea just came to fruition. So,
yeah, and you are targeting a particular community, Morehead, Kentucky. That is the home of Morehead State University. Is that what it's called?
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Yeah. So, Dylan, you've introduced who you are. You've introduced this journey leading up to now. If people are going to keep listening, what can they expect going forward?
Yeah, I think, when you asked to do this, it was so gracious of you. So this was totally Eli's idea to do this. And just because he's an incredible friend and wanted to help raise just awareness of what we're doing to help the work. And this is such a creative way to do that. And so I'm so thankful for that. From my perspective, one of the things that I hope that people get out of listening to this, one is to just be encouraged that the Lord sometimes calls us into things or leads us into things that are unknown and uncertain. And I've certainly learned that in these last 6 months. And I just want it to be an encouragement that the Lord is so good, that He is so faithful. And when you are obedient to Him, He'll be faithful. He'll be with you along the journey. I was preaching through the book of Joshua here at Christview when I announced to the church that I was going to be leaving Christview to go plant a church. And we were working through Joshua chapter 3, I believe it is. And what's happening in Joshua chapter 3 is they've come up to the edge that Joshua's led the Israelites up to the edge of the promised land. They're about to cross over the Jordan River. And, the first city they're going to go to is Jericho. You have to conquer it. You have to remember this people have never been to the promised land before, right? God had promised it to Abraham, their forefathers, right? But their parents, this generation's parents, have been in slavery, right? And then wandered in the wilderness for the last 40 years. So this is a whole new generation. They come up, and this line just stuck out with me. It's the very beginning of Joshua chapter, I want to say it's chapter 4, that he said, I'm about to lead you into a place that you've never been before. And then he says, follow closely behind because you've never been here, and I'll lead you, I'll guide you. And then it's actually they're supposed to follow the Ark of the Covenant, which is representative of the presence of God. That's where His presence was said to have dwelt. And but it also said, keep your distance because I'm a holy God, and talked about consecrating yourself. And when I was studying that, knowing that I was about to announce to the church this thing that I was going to do, and was thinking about all of this that was going for, I've never planted a church before, never been in this, this whole thing. I'm a first generation preacher, right? And I've never even been in ministry, had that background. I just, that was so meaningful to me, and just stuck out to me, and realizing that's what I have to do. If I'm going to do this, if I'm going to follow through on this thing, that I've got to stay so close to the Lord, and He's going to lead. He's going to take the lead and guide. But I also need to keep my distance. He's a holy God, right? Mm-hmm. And he is, that I want to have that reverence and respect for Him, and not take it for granted. And what I have found is that is so true. He leads and He guides every step, and you don't know what the next step is, but He opens the door, He makes the way. And so if anything, I just hope people are encouraged by this, to just be faithful, even if it's not going to plant a church, whatever it is, just to be faithful in your daily walk with the Lord. So I hope they're encouraged. The other thing is I hope, and continue to watch this, I hope you grow a love for church planting. That is a passion of mine that I've just gotten excited about and more convinced of. So I hope that people would get excited about that and begin to think, how can I contribute to a church plant? Whether it be praying for one, supporting one financially, getting my church on that biblical vision of church planting that is there. And then also, if anyone's in the Morehead area, anyone listening in around that region, what I hope you would get out of this is seeing how the Lord was at work through the entire process in bringing a church to that community who wants to see the world change, to see that city changed, see that region and the world changed for the glory of God. So that's what people listening in, watching, that's what I expect to get out of this.
Yeah, amen. I would echo everything you just said. Maybe one thing I'm thinking about too is just kind of the idea that you've been talking about. The Lord is going to call you. He's going to be faithful. We need to walk, closely behind him. The title of this podcast is Morecast. One, play on words because you're planning a church in Morehead, Kentucky.
Yeah.
But the idea that God calls us to something more is what you are talking about, and it's what you are living right now. God is not content with us just becoming converts and sitting and waiting to go to heaven. That is a beautiful part of the journey of every Christian. But between our coming to the Lord and our leaving this earth to go be with the Lord forever, there's a life that we are called to live on this earth. And it is not to be comfortable. It is not to look out for ourselves as number one. It is to do more than what we could think or imagine to the glory of God. Right?
Yeah.
And that's hard. It's hard for people to get out of their comfort zone. So I hope that's, echoing what you're saying, that is something that people will be able to be encouraged in, whatever that is. Everyone's journey is going to be different because the Lord has a lot going on in the world.
Yes.
He has a lot of things he wants to accomplish, and it's not everyone planning a church. But there's something more that the Lord is calling all of us to do. And so that's kind of what I hope. And we've talked about this too, telling a story in real time, right? We've been in a lot of classes. We've taken classes on church planning before, and you get to read the books and hear the stories of successful church plants, right?
Yeah.
Here's all the things that you could do, and it's going to lead you to success. The reality is anything we do that the Lord is calling us to do, anything more than what we have the ability to do on our own, it's going to be hard. There's going to be bumps along the way. There's going to be extreme highs and extreme lows. And so I hope as this story unfolds, as a story of a work of God is being told in real time, that people will also be encouraged that things aren't always neat and tidy. Even when the Lord is blessing something.
Yes, that's right.
You're just taking one step at a time, trying to stay close to the Lord and let him lead. That's the other hard thing. And the beauty in that Joshua passage, it's follow closely behind, but leave enough distance. And I think that there's practical application for us in that sometimes we can get moving at a rate that's so fast that we actually get ahead of what the Lord is doing. And then we're asking him to follow us and to bless what we want to accomplish. But there's that proper relationship to the Lord that we are following him, and we are leaving enough distance in awe and reverence and respect for he is the Lord, right?
Yeah.
That maintains that he is also the leader of this too. So I hope people are encouraged in that as well. Dylan, right now, if people want to connect to you, how can they do that?
Well, first, got to check out our website, and it is b1make1.org/Morehead, and that's the number one. You're not spelling one out. b1make1.org/Morehead. And we'll talk about that group a little bit in this podcast for sure. They're a church planning org, but on there you can find out, get connected with us initially. I know we're putting this on YouTube. If you leave something in the comments, I'd be happy to reach out to you. Find me on social media, send me a message. And if there's any kind of if you're living in Morehead, or you know someone in that area, that is one of the things we're working really hard right now, is just beginning to meet people and find people of peace, as Jesus sent out his disciples to do mission work. He told them to go and find people of peace and to start there. And so that's what we're doing in the middle right now. So if you know people in that area, or you're open yourself, to what the Lord wants to do in that community, then definitely reach out in that way. But yeah, that'd probably be the best thing to do right now, Eli.
If you'd like to connect with Dylan or learn more about the church plant, don't hesitate to reach out. He'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching and listening to this pilot episode of the Morecast. We hope you'll join us again for future episodes. And as we close, may these words from Numbers chapter 6 be a blessing to you. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Until next time, take care and be blessed.